one.
Right out of the gate.
Oh, that was
Dropping
awesome.
F-bomb. Take two.
Yeah.
I can't
Take
believe I
two,
just
no
did that.
swearing, child friendly, family friendly, huh?
Can't believe I just did that.
Oh, that was awesome. I wish we could have
I
left
wish
it
we
in there.
could too. The old
So we're rolling.
algorithm, yeah. The old
right.
algorithm would have
Let's
got
do it.
us.
Yeah. It
What do you think about that quote I sent you yesterday?
was good. I've read, well, obviously I've read it. A few different things in the book like that. And that was always kind of one of the things, like, to me, always it always showed that people just, they haven't changed in so long. Like, it's deep, man. It's a powerful quote. Yeah, tell everyone so that.
Well, I don't know that he was actually quoting. I think he was making a statement about the times we're living in.
Right, but if you tell the statement that you're quoting him, so yeah, go ahead.
So I guess we need to back up for a second. So I'm doing the Bible in a Year podcast. I think everybody should do it.
Yeah.
Whether you're atheist, agnostic,
Yeah, it's a good read.
Jewish, whatever, right? Muslim. Because I found myself critiquing things in the Bible and I don't have a good understanding of it myself. Even being raised Catholic, going to a Catholic school, I'm pretty ignorant myself too. So if I'm going to talk about it, I should probably listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to take me a couple times of listening to it. But anyways, the priest on there yesterday said, today, the way we're living, everything is permissible, but nothing is forgivable.
I like it.
Right? Immediately I thought of like Alex Jones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or name said person that's been canceled.
That's where my mind went.
Right.
The cancel culture.
Right. You can be anything you want, but nothing is forgivable that you say or do.
Right.
Even if you look back and go, shit, like, I was probably wrong about that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to
You
evolve.
said it.
You know what I mean? Like they'll go back, 15 years ago on your social media and go, oh, you liked, someone made a comment and you liked it,
Right.
and they'll cancel you for it. So yeah, it's
Everything is permissible, but nothing is forgivable.
and it puts people in chains that you can't evolve. You know what I mean? Like you can't grow as a person that way, and that's sad. Because technically we should be wrong a lot. We should see that we're wrong a lot and grow from it.
Mm-hmm. And be better.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Stifle the whole, human race out of cancel culture. It's the wrong path.
As I'm going through this, I'm thinking to myself, let me flush this out for a second. God came here, tried getting people to behave a certain way, laid down rules and laws, tried to get us to behave a certain way, couldn't get us to completely comply, sent his son down here to try to straighten these shitheads out. We crucify him. So God says, I'm out, I'll check back in a couple thousand years. We might have crucified him again at Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's like, I'm out. I tried with these shitheads. Like, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Because it seems like we just dissolved into this shit show we're in now.
Yeah.
And I try to be positive. I try to have a very positive outlook on the future and where we're at. Maybe it's not as bad.
Right.
Then I started looking around. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I swear I'm just putting my own blinders on sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the areas where me and you do find ourselves on opposing ends of, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm not optimistic about that stuff. I'm very pessimistic about that. I look around and, wow, what happened to us? As a species, like, God, we should have evolved better. I would have thought, but I don't know. You know, your day and age now, if it feels good, do it. You don't have to answer to anything greater than you, you know. It's all about you.
Well, there's no.
You're the center of the universe. It's all about you, you know, being, like I said last week, being special. Everyone has to be special now and, you know, getting the clicks. And you're the center of your universe. And I think when we do that, we cheat ourselves out of something greater.
There's no delayed gratification anymore, is there?
No.
It's instant gratification, right? And we get that dopamine hit, and then we have to keep
going,
right,
keep
doing
upping
that.
it. Yeah.
Right. It's got to come faster and sooner, faster, sooner, and, you know, at any expense. Just
this is why I
just
fully believe humans will absolutely plug themselves into a computer, live in a pod, drinking, you know, cricket juice, and living in an alternate reality, like virtual world. Matrix is coming. I think Cypher, I believe, was the character that said it, you know. I know this isn't real. The Matrix with this steak, the Matrix is just telling me that it's gonna taste good when I put it in my mouth, and you know what? Ignorance is bliss. So I think a lot of people will willingly just jack in and forget reality.
to go along with the instant gratification, it seems like we're so self-serving now, right? It's all about me and I and what I can game, what I can scheme, whatever I can do to achieve.
You are the center of the universe now. And I think that's where we failed. Because we cheated ourselves out of something greater than, you know.
Well, this got a dark start.
Yeah, man, well, right off the get-go.
Well, I gave I swear, so I got to start over. First word out of my mouth.
Yeah, drop the old F-bomb.
And then
The first word.
God gave up on us.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a start. I don't know.
You know, did he give up on us, or, you know?
Well, I think we gave up. I think we gave up on him. Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I don't think he gave up on us. I just think he was like, "Holy shit, you shitheads are out of control. Like I've tried everything."
Just bad children, man.
I
Bunch of bad kids.
tried with Moses, and
Yeah.
I sent my own.
Moses.
I sent my own son down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a good read, and like the scripture that you had sent me, you know, days back, like it just, you know, Moses leads the people out of Egypt, and half of them just want to go back. You know.
That was crazy about that part of it.
Yeah, and I've read that a few times.
Well,
out there, that example, and it's like if you think about that and you put that in perspective in today's society, like we have not changed. You know, people, the tools we're using has changed. You know, the comforts of our life has changed, but people have not changed. And that's one of the fun things that I received reading, you know, the book, which I finished, and just over 7 months it took me to read it cover to cover, and now I'm on my second read. That was one of the fun things that I always kind of like. I like to look back, even just historically, right? Setting religious views aside, just historically, to look at the way people behave then and kind of the comparison to now, and it just fascinates me. Like I would have thought that we would have, you know,
you don't remember
come further.
Which one I sent you, do you?
Oh,
because it wasn't so much about that whole specific day.
right.
The point was, did you listen from minute 17 to the end?
Yeah, that's where I went. 17.
I wish I could remember what day it was, because I'd play it. Damn.
You
don't have
3 days ago, and I don't have it now. saved.
If you go onto your Spotify, is it under your...
It might be. Hold on. Give me a moment here, because I might still have it there in the library. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because Father Mike, he surprised me at the end there with what he said about where we are, and when he was talking about.
Oh yeah. So recently played.
Sorry. Got some mucus.
Looks like
yeah, I know.
Was it the Israel's rebellion?
Is that what it was? Day 63?
Yeah, day 63. I think it was that one. But fascinating, when you see people are people, man,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play.
Yeah, play a bit of it.
Hi, my name's Father Mike Schmitz, and you're listening to the Bible in a Year podcast.
Get a grasp for what I was
place
saying.
of slavery.
I'll do
and live our days there, and take whatever punishment we get for running away there. And then they're going to have to go into the land. The next book after this is Joshua. And that book of Joshua is going to tell the story of, okay, now you need to fight. You need to actually do something. It's not just about being given. Although the promised land was being given to the people of Israel, but they had to cooperate with the Lord's work. Today, since they were unwilling to cooperate because they were driven by fear and paralyzed by distrust, this distrust that marked their lives and marked their hearts. Because of that, the Lord God says that they will not enter the promised land. In fact, the children that you said were going to have to fight because you were unwilling your children are the ones who are going to go into the promised land. They're the ones who are going to go up, and they're the ones who are going to have to fight because you were unwilling to fight. You not only do not get to see the promised land, but also your children that you're very concerned about, they're the ones that are going to have to fight because you were unwilling to fight. And isn't there this lesson for us to hear in that? Those of us who are adults, those of us who are in a place of responsibility, those of us who have been given people and been given a task, that if we're not willing to do the battle, if we're not willing to do that fighting of getting free from whatever burden has ensnared us, whatever slavery has been in our lives, if we're not willing to use the grace that God has given us to move forward in freedom and to fight against that slavery, to fight against the addictions, to fight against the bad behaviors of previous generations. If we're not willing to do that battle, then who's going to have to battle? Well, we might still live in slavery, but our children are the ones who are going to have to do the battle that we were unwilling to fight. And so today, this reminder for every one of us to take up arms against whatever enslaves us so that our children and our children's children don't have to take up arms against what enslaves us. This is so important for every single one of us, because if we've been given a position of authority or responsibility, then it's our responsibility, in virtue of our authority, to fight, so that our children don't have to fight the battles that we were supposed to fight. They will have to fight battles on their own. But let them fight the battles that they are meant to fight, not our battles that we were unwilling to fight. One last note, when it comes to Deuteronomy chapter 12.
Anyways.
That's where it goes into, I think, the people would rather, what, they'd rather go back than do the hard work, right? Mm-hmm. They just, then they wonder why they had to wander the desert for 40 years. Get your shit together. And this supersedes religious beliefs. Like, that's just a good message all around. How could you disagree with that?
Right.
To take care of the world and leave it in a better place than you got it. Or be lazy and self-centered and self-righteous and let your kids suffer the consequences of your inability to.
Because you're
fight back.
Because your needs and interests were more important at the time.
Yeah, because you're the center of your universe. Right. Short-term gains that cost you really big in the end, but it's just a good message. I don't understand how you could even disagree with that, you know.
Oh, people will.
Oh, sure. They'll tear it apart and dissect it.
I'm sure people clicked off right about the time I started playing it. And it's not.
And this wasn't about, like pumping religion at anyone. It was just a good message. You know?
And I think wherever you stand, you should listen to it so you have a better understanding.
Sure.
Because I think the biggest mistake we make, and this can go back to last week's podcast about reading a headline and running with it, like you read the whole article, right?
Right.
You hear a snippet, someone says something out of the Bible and says why it's ridiculous or why it's false, and then you run with it and that's our own ignorance, right? It's our own laziness.
Yep.
Everybody has the ability.
Fear. I think I fear that, you know what read it. What if you're wrong? Mm-hmm. No one wants to be wrong, right? They can't even admit it when they are nowadays, you know.
Yeah, I've definitely found things I was wrong about or misdirected on, and I took it as fact that because I heard someone say, oh, in the Bible it says this and that's why it's wrong, and I listened to them like, it doesn't really say that.
Yeah, it doesn't really say that. That's kind of taken out of context.
Yeah,
or that's your interpretation of it.
Right.
Right.
But now that I'm not reading it, I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
But I still believe it's better than not doing anything.
Yeah, and look, a good message is a good message, whether it comes out of the Bible, whether it comes from Martin Luther King, JFK, the Quran, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where it originates from. A good message is a good message, and it should be promoted and, shared. So, that wasn't about pumping religion at anybody. My journey's a personal one. And, I'll talk about it. If people want to know about it, have questions, sure. It's changed my life. And, I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Just, the last year, a lot of things have changed for me, and even hardships that I've had to endure. I found myself more grateful about my path and my journey, and more at peace. Just finding this peaceful place, and it's pretty wonderful, man.
Yeah, I find myself even more confused now than before when it comes to the Bible and religion. Then it's very confusing for me. And that Father Mike in there, he'll repeat himself that, especially where we're at. I'm only 75 days in.
Yeah.
But he said, we made it through the book of Numbers, and a lot of this is just rules, right? And he said, you gotta understand, this is like very early man.
Yeah. That
God's laying out the most basic rules. It's hard to take it, to use the context of today and say, well, how is that? Well, look at a computer from just 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And look at a computer today. It's easy to go, how is that the same thing? I don't want to say how is that. Why wasn't what we have today just then? Well, it's progress, right? It takes time to go from this massive thing to
evolve,
this little thing, right? So to look at how we communicated 2,000 years ago to how we communicate today and the knowledge we have today, that's why I got to keep reminding myself that, it's...
And the funny thing is, and when I go through the same areas that you are, the thing I think about is, as advanced as we are, as much as we've evolved, information at your fingertips as soon as you want it, just punch in and you can know anything that there is to know, and we still can't obey the rules.
Yeah.
And we still can't obey them, like it's funny to me. It just, people are people. So we've evolved tremendously in some aspects, but in other ways, like, we haven't hardly changed at all, So, to me, it's really neat to learn how people were 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago. I don't know. It fascinates me. I think it's the right word.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I was watching a podcast this morning. I was surprised how loose YouTube has become on COVID narrative.
Yeah,
I was like,
I think they panicked.
it's really odd to me.
Because now, yeah, I've noticed like people really trash talking, vaccines and all kinds of stuff that you couldn't even utter those words 6 months ago. You get your channel nude.
Yeah.
And they've really loosened up their grip on that. And I wonder how much of that is because of Twitter and Elon Musk and the truth coming out about the censorship and the suppression of, people's opinions and thoughts. And maybe YouTube's going, uh-oh, because, the rabbit hole I went down was obviously the government has been working with all of the big social media platforms, not just Twitter. It was Facebook, Instagram, YouTube,
Did you see this DeMar Hamlin interview with Michael Strahan?
No, I didn't watch that one.
They were talking about this in the podcast I was watching. I'll point that out here in a minute.
Where they asked him what the doctor said, and he said, "I don't want to talk about that." I caught the clip, but I didn't see the full interview.
Yeah, as soon as I'll bring it up for everybody that's just a commercial. Yes,
because I found that pretty interesting.
DeMar Hamlin.
I'm not sure.
Women and men who say.
Not sure. Why?
I do think certain.
We're almost there, folks. I know.
The savior of my life, administrating
Let's
CPR.
see.
That's something I'm truly thankful for, and I don't take for granted. Have you gone back and looked at the video of it? I watched it once or twice while I was in the ICU, but I really couldn't watch it too much. So what would that like to watch that? Just a crazy feeling. Something I can't even describe yet. Something I'm still processing. Something I'm still trying to work through. Just hearing family members, I said when I woke up was Dilly Win. I did think. Do you realize when I saw that, I said, okay, he's an athlete. He's committed. Because that competitive nature in me was just
Trying to get to the point.
Right.
Coming to you and say, this could have gone another way.
Yeah, pretty much. When they, just
I should have been a little more prepared for the exact spot.
That's all
They
right.
call
We'll
the
get it.
recovery remarkable. I mean, 3 days on a ventilator, your neurological function.
First and foremost, just God, just a blessing.
The question on so
Weird.
many
He was talking
minds,
about God.
what causes
He
his heart
had
to
that.
There we
stop
go.
beating? You're 24, peak physical condition,
Damn,
one circle around me right now.
Right here.
How did doctors describe what happened to you?
That's something I was staring from.
I know from my experience.
Yeah.
All right. Two things right there. Okay. There's a couple things here.
Yeah.
This is edited, clearly. Because watch, right here.
I know from my experience in the NFL, they do more.
All right, go back. Okay.
That's something I was staring from.
Now watch.
I know from my experience in the NFL, they do more.
Okay. There was a conversation that occurred.
After.
He said that, and where Michael Strahan starts talking. I don't know that for sure, obviously, but it sure seems like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they transitioned away from him right as soon as he said that line. So
there's a couple things here. What did he want to stay away from, and why?
right.
What?
I got my theory.
Right?
Yep.
And two, why didn't they edit that out?
Right. Clickbait. Yeah, you think they would have just, maybe because they had to demonstrate that they did ask the question, because had they edited that whole segment out, or section of the segment out, people would have, why didn't you ask them this? Why didn't you ask them that? You know, so they kind of had to, like, give them the chance to like throw it out there, but not really, you know, where you're addressing something, but you're not really addressing it.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
the whole thing is just weird to me. Like, it's strange, man.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I man, to be a fly on the wall during that interview, man, oh, yeah. I wish I could talk to him.
But I'm saying, though, like, they could have just had the conversation, and he wouldn't have had to ask him, what did the doctor say,
Right.
why this happened. You know what
But
I'm saying?
that is the one
Because they
question
played-
that everyone wants to know.
But they played it off, it was just a hit, though,
Right.
right?
Right. But everyone's like, yeah, but what did the doctor say? You know what I mean? You got political analysts saying it was the hit. You got commentators, you know, sports commentators saying it was the hit. And none of these people are medical professionals any more than we are. We could say, yeah, it was the hit. I said, nah, I don't think it was the hit. You know? Well, Tatum was on there saying, hey, you know, I was in SWAT and we had to wear, you know, the plate there because if you caught a round, you know, in the chest, it could stop your heart. And I'm like, okay, a couple things. For one, that hit is a lot different than the impact and kinetic energy of a bullet. One. Two, they have shoulder pads and chest plate. He is padded. And he rolled out of it. So to me, I never really thought it was a hit.
But they did have medical professionals going out there saying it was.
Some. They also had other ones
Comioto
that said no. They had other ones that said no.
Oh, shit, I messed that up.
I mean, how many hits are there in the NFL in one season? You know, it's, you really think it was the 1 in a million, you know, chance?
Right, but I'm saying they
Maybe.
did have doctors out there in media saying that this is what it was.
Sure. Can't scare the hell out of the population, can we? And what about the doctors and medical professionals that said no?
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen this in my entire career. Like, they're out there too. They just don't get the airtime. You know, you're not going to see them on CNN. It doesn't fit the narrative.
Right, but that's how they had.
Right.
That's what they had said it was. So it's just weird that they just didn't edit that out.
Yeah. I think because it would have looked worse had they.
But we would have never known the question was even asked if they would have just.
Right. But we would have said, well, that's scandalous. They didn't even ask the question. So I think it was a way of just.
I wouldn't have even known. I didn't even know the interview happened if it wasn't for another podcast
Yeah.
that I saw that was talking about it. I had no idea because I don't pay attention to that. I don't pay attention to corporate media.
Right.
So I wouldn't even have known.
To me, I think it was just a way of acting like they addressed something that they really weren't addressing. Hey, come on. He knows the questions he's going to be asked ahead of time. All this shit's scripted. So don't tell me during this interview, if he didn't want to talk about something, that wouldn't have been in the rule book, right, you know, in the contract, or that they're negotiating, look, I'll come on your show, but don't ask me about this. We're going to stay away from that. Like, so that whole thing, it's weird. It's just, the whole situation's weird. I don't know that you'll ever get the real truth of any of it.
Yeah. I don't know. But it raises even more questions, right? Why did he say I'm staying away from that?
Right. Yeah, why?
But the fact that the podcast I seen that on had already 1 million views and it had only been out for a couple days. And I'm like, I was really, the whole point of that was I was shocked because they went deep on, they went real deep on, that whole,
It's hard to believe YouTube's even allowed.
right. That was my point.
Right.
And,
But they've really loosened their grasp on that lately.
because any in the past, that would have been shut down. That video would have been
Right.
taken down, right?
You know, and they need to let people have the debate. That you're never going to trust anything, any information that's out there if it's filtered all the time. You know, if you're stifling one half of the conversation, like it makes everyone untrusting, even if the other half is telling the truth. You know, if I'm telling you fire's hot and you want to tell me fire's not, but we're going to eliminate your ability to argue back, and everyone knows that you're not being able to argue, it makes you untrusting of now how many people's going to get burnt. You know, because they were, even though I was telling the truth, that fire really is hot, right? But if that example makes any sense, it kind of popped in my head. But
No, I get it. I'm
glad to see that YouTube's loosening up a little bit. And they're just not nuking everyone that, you know, come on, when you had to like come up with different ways of saying something so that, you know, the algorithm didn't flag you and nuke your channel. How many different ways did they call it? The, you know, the jab got changed to the Fauci ouchie there was 20 different ways that people were trying to say this without letting a little artificial intelligence grab you and flag you.
right.
That's stupid. You gotta create your own language, you know, unalive. Yeah, because you can't say, you know.
I gotta hear how this is pronounced because I butchered it when I said it.
Commotio cordis.
Commotio cordis. Okay. God, I butchered it when I said it.
So I don't know. You know, I seen a video yesterday
I'll
of
find that podcast.
a bunch of people in the gym tipping over, like,
Not that they need but just to give them credit, because like I said, had it not popped up, I wouldn't have even known about.
yeah.
I wouldn't have even known about. What am I doing here? I wouldn't have even known that interview existed, because like I said, I do not pay attention to corporate media.
Yeah. Yeah, I caught that segment or that section of that segment.
Uh huh.
But I meant to go back and watch the full interview because obviously context, you know, matters. And when you're catching a sound bite, again, it's like reading a headline. You know, it's not always truthful or accurate. So I just never got back around to it. To me personally, the debate, I don't know. I don't want to say like I have my mind made up for certainty, because, you know, then shame on you for your inability to say that you're wrong or grow as a person. But I definitely have my views on it.
On
All the health issues going on right now, you know, all the videos you're seeing this uptick in videos of, you know, people in gyms just like the same thing, you know, tipping over.
I hadn't seen that.
No, we know some of that happens anyways. Like anyone that's kind of got into weightlifting or, you know, an exercise regimen a little bit, there's always been some videos around, you know, some guy powerlifting and then passing out, right? But they're showing a lot of videos now. This compilation that I seen was not just people powerlifting, it was just people exercising and then just passing out.
At
like
Block
just
Advisors, we
going
do
down.
taxes for small businesses like berries.
Creepy,
no matter
man.
what
It's
season.
just weird. It's just there's something weird going
We've all
on.
seen that hit.
So
We've
I
all seen
know nothing about. I shouldn't say know nothing about, but I haven't listened to this podcast. But anyways, it's PBD podcast.
I haven't seen this.
Yeah.
fall. Yeah. We've all seen the jacket. At this point, the Super Bowl, he came and apologized. Go ahead.
And I don't know if there are sports.
The question on
content.
so
I
many
don't.
minds, what caused
Anyways, this is where
The
I
why-
start. Yeah, it's Jimmy
Institute
Dore on it,
study
which
just
you
showed
know.
that
Yeah.
heart attacks and deaths are from 2000 to 2022 are up 30%. From ages 25 to 44 years old, it's all going up. And
That's
Robert,
what I was
gonna send you the
surprised
link on
about.
it. It's a Heart Institute study. Pfizer does not play games, and their CEO, I forgot where I saw
Albert
it.
Bourla.
Albert Bourla was doing a speech on one of those like, one of those forums where they just sit on stage and spew bullshit. He was like, "We have all these because with vaccine hesitancy, we have all these vaccines that we got to find a way to get people more motivated to take this thing.
That's
It's
right.
all money, bro. It's insane that you saw fear. Did you see the fear where I saw the wheels turning in his head, and the wheels were, do I tell people the truth, or do I know that I was told to shut the hell up and don't say anything because my career is...
Don't wanna
Well,
lose that
obviously
contract.
he's been coached to not talk about that in a certain way, and he was like,
So the point of this was, I was surprised. If you want to go listen to it, go listen to it. I'm not going to play an entirety here, but I was surprised this has, 1 million views in just a couple days, and YouTube's allowing that.
Right.
7 days, 998,000 views.
Did you tell everyone where you got that from?
I showed it. They
Oh,
could
okay.
see it when. Well, I guess people
Good.
listening.
Yeah.
It was under Valuetainment is the YouTube channel. I'm not familiar with them either, but
Yeah.
the PBD podcast, Jimmy Dore's on there. So if you want to listen to that,
Yeah.
I'll have to listen.
Sounds
to
like the headline is Fauci was lying. Reaction to Damar Hamlin not wanting to answer the question. So, yeah, look it up, listen to it if you want. That was interesting.
Yeah.
First thing I thought is, when you're dealing with $1 million contracts and,
Well, he
God
said-
knows you don't want to say nothing against Pfizer because
Well, he said in
look
there
at Project Veritas.
that
you
one
know.
gentleman, I don't know who that guy was, said that. Well, I'm gonna look the fact up myself before I say it, because he said it, but I don't know it for fact.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assumption.
And I wanted to say it was. How do I find? Okay. I think. Yeah, I butchered that, doesn't I?
Yeah, a little bit. Go to your, yeah.
Did I? Was there a link there?
No. Wow.
Do you see it? Is there?
Procter Gamble.
That's January 2020, though.
Yeah, what we're trying to look up is does Pfizer sponsor the NFL, and if so, how much currency are they pumping into that? Pfizer's
Because they made a claim on that podcast about the specific amount.
But we've all heard brought to you by Pfizer, brought to you by Pfizer. Like everything's brought to you by Pfizer.
Right. So I wanted to specifically see if I could find.
I mean, they break a story at Project Veritas of Pfizer using gain of function technology.
He talks about James O'Keefe in that podcast too. About
and 4 days later, O'Keefe's fired. So
that's exactly what they talked about in there
you
too.
cannot tell me that there's not that was the biggest story they had ever broke by far. Like I seen the O'Keefe interview and it was astronomical, like 10 times higher than their largest video to date. And they fire him, a couple days later. Come on, someone got a phone call. Someone got a phone call for some asshole in a suit that said, "Look, he just made us look really bad. And, you know, how about you want a golden parachute, brah? Huh? You want a golden parachute? Get rid of this guy, you know. Your family will never want for money again. The whole thing's so corrupt. And, you know, just to be clear, I am not anti-vaccines at all. I'm anti-mandate. I don't like, if it works and it's a good thing, people will get it. You don't have to mandate it. You know?
Here's an idea. How about you talk to your doctor?
Yeah. You know, if it's a good thing, the doctor will tell you, hey, look, you know, want your flu shot this season? It's a pretty bad strain of flu going around, you know, probably be a good idea to get your shot. Yeah, sure, doc, you know, give it to me. Like, it just wouldn't be a thing. It's a thing because of the way they handled it, you know.
Right.
And that went beyond political affiliation. That was both sides of the aisle was, you know. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They're all part of that shit show. So, and again, it made people untrusting.
Mm-hmm.
Americans are rebellious by nature, in spirit. We are, you know, so.
Yeah.
You know, look, if it's a good thing, it's going to help put the facts out there, put the data out there, let people get the truth, you know, and make up their own mind between them and their healthcare provider. Like,
yeah.
it's just incredible that we can even say this right now, because even this conversation right here would have gotten us like yanked.
That was the point.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what's the point wasn't to get into a big COVID debate and this and that. It was, the point was what's going on that this is all of a sudden allowed.
I think that the truth is coming out, and these social media platforms are starting to panic a little bit because Twitter got a black eye bad. You know, it was bad when the truth came out. Those files started getting dumped by Musk. Even though we all knew it, like, to see it and the extent of it, like, it was so deep and so corrupt. Like, I think everyone's panicking, like, you know, when the truth starts to bubble up to the surface, you know, the rats scurry away, right? Just, they want to get away from it. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I think some more truth is gonna come out.
I mean, they talked. Right. I mean, and again, that clip's been out, or that little segment there's been out for 7 days, has almost 1 million views.
Yeah.
And I mean, they went deep on hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, you know, and I was like, holy shit, how is this even?
Yeah, you couldn't even say those words.
Yeah.
5 months ago.
I was shocked. Like, okay, there's something going on here.
And I think the one thing that changed was Twitter files, the truth. And now that the truth started to come out, people are digging now that it wasn't. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people that had blinders on, right? They were just didn't know, didn't care, wasn't interested. But then when the story broke and they're like, what? Wait, really? Now they're asking questions. So I think there's a swell of interest in this now. And I think the social media platforms are panicking a little bit. You know, to at least try to present that they're being fair and balanced, right? And that they're not just promoting a certain viewpoint.
I don't know. That's what I think. That's what I'm finding interesting. All of a sudden now,
We'll see shortly if all of a sudden there's some information leaked out about government collusion with YouTube, or, you know, with Facebook. So yeah. Should be interesting anyways, as this stuff starts to come out.
Yeah.
I think the one thing everyone can agree on is we didn't know the truth, and parts of it are starting to surface now and break through.
Well,
And even then, I don't know that you'll ever know the full truth, but I think you see enough of it now that it's undeniable that this happened. It shouldn't have happened. It did happen, you know, and hopefully,
Well, people are questioning what the truth was, and they're being silenced.
yeah,
And
just
they're
for
being
asking a
banned.
question. And I mean, prominent doctors,
Yeah.
because like you brought them up earlier, you know, well, the doctors did support that, yeah, but the doctors that didn't,
Right.
they're gone. You know, you don't hear nothing. Ruin their career. You know, a whole career of practicing medicine for 30 years. You know, well, I can't say this because then they'll flush my career down the toilet. I'll be a zealot. You know?
Well, and even doctors that were trying to prescribe certain medications, right?
Yeah.
They were
Yep.
they were being threatened by
Yeah.
the medical boards and stuff
Right.
to have their licenses
Have their
taken,
licenses taken.
right?
Yeah. Look at what they're doing to Jordan Peterson. You know, like the world we live in. It's, you know, and that's why I have said from the beginning, we've been doing this almost a year now. Man, you know,
Half a year.
is it half year? Yeah, I thought it was longer. Well, maybe.
Half
yeah,
year.
half year feels like
Yeah.
a year. You got to push back.
Yeah.
You know, you got to try to slow the roll. Maybe the world's going to change that direction anyways, but I want to slow it down, give us a chance to digest it a little bit and dissect it a little to see, you know, what are the pitfalls, what are the dangers. And I think when we're rolling so fast, you don't get a chance to, you jump into it head first, like you're going to end up in trouble. So
Yeah, it's just I found that fascinating when that popped up in my suggestion today, and I watched it. I'm like, wait,
it's
what's
not just
going
that.
on here?
It's not even just that, because now I'm seeing videos where people are outright stating, you know, gender roles, right? Or genders that you couldn't say 3 months ago. You know, you get your channel nuked, and that's why I think there's something brewing in the background about suppression, right? And I think there was a lot of suppression happening, whether you want to call it shadow banning or having your channel nuked, whatever. It was suppression of a certain point of view or a way of thinking, and I think the truth's starting to surface, and these guys are starting to backpedal on this and try to get ahead of it, right? No, we're not. Look, you know, we can show you a video last month of this doctor saying, you know, talking about ivermectin, or there's only 2 genders, and, you know, anyone that thinks there's 72 genders is mentally ill, or whatever their philosophy would be. Just things that were no areas that you didn't even want to talk about. Any of this would suck, because the whole idea of our channel was to get into shit like that, right? Let's get into the hard, heavy, complicated shit, and you know, let the public watch us really struggle with this and not really know what the fuck we're talking about or what to think about it, and watch us in real time, you know, because then you see they're not alone, right? Everybody is struggling with these things, and they're happening so fast. They're coming at you so fast that you barely have a chance to really get in there and take the good, to sweep the bad away, and evolve as a people, right? You can't. It's coming at you so fast. So I don't know. I hope that this trend stays, that they loosen their grip on, I don't even want to say free speech. It's more like free thought. You know, you weren't even allowed to have thoughts. Like, you were, man, it just was the craziest thing in my life to see where people were scared to say what they thought. They were afraid of their neighbors. They're afraid of the people at the grocery store. They're afraid of everyone, to get your ass canceled so fast and your life ruined. And it kind of reminded me of this is why people loaded other people into trail cars, and there were a lot of people that didn't say or see anything. I didn't see anything, you know. And I thought, how could this happen? Because all them people weren't bad. They couldn't have been, you know. So good people allowed this shit to happen. And they put the blame, and now I see, like, wow, man, social pressure is,
It's interesting.
yeah, it's crazy, you know?
So you're saying good people here damn well knowing that information was true, but they just kept their blinders on to stay out of the...
To stay out of the fray, man. You know, they don't.
Like, I
Because
know
you know what?
things don't seem right, but I'm just going to keep
Yep.
on my
Exactly.
path here because I don't want to get involved in all that.
Yeah,
And so you're saying they did the same
They
thing
did
over
the
there.
same exact thing.
Like, I know this isn't right, but I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
Goes back to what Father Mike said, right?
Right. Love it. Deep. That's why I told you when you sent me that. I'm like, man, that shit's kind of deep, bro. You know, that's yeah, I like it because it really, you know, when you got a woman on a subway getting raped and, like, you know, not only did people, like, not intervene and do anything, you know, and just watch, like, people pulled out their cell phone and recorded it, which I get it if you were, like, trying to get evidence for the police, but I mean, come on, like, yeah, you know. I don't know. People fascinate me. That's what I'm going to say. It just, you know, it's fascinating how good people sometimes won't do the right thing. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you don't want to do the hard work. Just, I want to push back a little bit. Mm-hmm. I want to slow it down a little bit, you know. I'm not saying that direction's necessarily wrong. I'm just saying we're getting there a little too fast.
Yeah, it's interesting because would we have want to stayed stuck in 1950 forever?
Right.
Right?
There's comforts I enjoy now that they did not have in the 50s.
And it's weird how we're never satisfied as a species, right?
Right.
Like, we're never just good enough. Okay, we can drive around in a car, we have a television in our house, we have heat, and we got a refrigerator. We've gone far enough. Let's just
we're good.
coast now. We never get to that
awesome.
point, do we?
No. Gluttony, man.
It's like, we need,
More.
like, we had microphones, but we need a better microphone, right?
And
Like,
even us, man, we're constantly evolving the studio. And, like,
Right.
I was going to tell you earlier, we were talking about the microphone, and I had some ideas on that. So, yeah, there's never enough.
like, people just can't hear us crisp enough and clean enough, you know? Like,
Right.
we need, you know,
We can do it better.
Yeah.
Better lighting.
We need better cameras, better
Yeah.
lighting. Like,
Yeah.
they can hear us and see us. Why isn't that good enough? What is it in us that drives us to continue to innovate and want better and
Right.
more? And which is, again, if we didn't have that, we'd all be, you know, we would have stopped.
Well, yeah, we'd still be killing food with sharp sticks and starting fires, smacking rocks together, right? Like,
Which is a fascinating thing, right?
yeah.
Because I was listening to these guys talk about archery, and they're way smarter than I am.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what they were saying isn't right, because they're probably 100% right, and I'm just a moron and I'm wrong.
Right.
But they believe why people struggle in archery is the explosiveness of the bow going off, that your body wants to brace for impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have target panic.
Okay. It's interesting. I like
Which may be true shooting at a target,
it. Right.
but the sensation I get when an animal is in front of me to shoot
Yeah.
is different than what I'm experiencing at
Absolutely.
the target.
Absolutely.
I believe what's happening with the animal is primitive. I still truly believe that instinct, just get an arrow in them or get a bullet in them, just get them bleeding, comes
bleeding.
from tens of thousands of years of hunting with a sharp stick.
Yeah.
Or a stick and a string with a stone
Right.
on the end. I would be surprised if we actually practiced a lot with primitive equipment because it was so valuable. You know,
Right.
the time it took to make an arrow and, you know, make a
Wow.
a stone tip.
Yeah.
I wondered how much time we actually spent practicing.
Probably
versus
not
you just went
much.
out and you stuck them. You
Yeah.
had all day to chase that animal with your tribe.
Right.
Get another one in them. It was just get one in them, get them bleeding. We'll run them
So
down.
then
we'll
we
get
can
another
run
one in
down
them.
and get 'em, yeah.
I don't know that and we did this for so long. I think that for me, anyways, I get this like, just go.
Me too. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Even when I shot my deer with the rifle this year, the way he came in and he zigzagged, there were like 2 or 3 times where my body was just like, no. Like it was everything I could do just to
slow it down.
No, you know, until he got right broadside.
And you got your shot.
But there was like 3 times I remember everything in my body was just like, no. It was like my body got super tense, you know, and I knew it wasn't a good shot.
Yeah.
With the rifle, it still would have killed him.
Yeah, it would have done the deal.
But it was amazing.
Because it's hard to wait
primal,
for your shot.
What it feels to me is just a primal instinct. Just now we got to eat. You know, that's food.
Right. I agree 100%. I think you're 100% correct. I know that exact feeling. The buck I blew on this last season, the biggest buck I've ever taken a shot at with the compound bow, and yeah, man, I drew on him 3 times to full draw, and twice I forced back a shot that everything in my body was screaming, just shoot it, because I had it, you know, but it just wasn't a good shot. It's hard to let that draw down and just wait it out, you know. And in the end, I shot over him. I misjudged the distance. I was excited. I admit, man, I was excited. He came into my shooting lane, and I misjudged the distance and shot right over his back. Would have been a beautiful shot. Would have been a beautiful shot, and I blew it. I got excited, but you know, that was the first deer I've shot at with a compound bow in years, because, you know, I had switched over to the crossbow. But yeah, that feeling was, my body was screaming, shoot it, you know, just get a full draw, just get that arrow back. And once I was drawn and kind of settled in, everything in me was like, shoot. Yeah. And I believe that's probably what it's from.
It seems like it to me.
Because when it took you like a half a day to make a broadhead, you know, out of flint, I don't think you went and like practiced a lot with it and risked like ruining your arrow or losing your arrow, because it was so much. You couldn't just run to, you know, the archery store and buy a dozen, right? Like you had to make those, or someone in your tribe had to make them, someone in your group that, you know, had that skill set. So, and I've watched them primitive arrow making. It's a process. It's art. Like, it's,
and when you're doing that, you're not out hunting. You're not gathering resources. You're not fending off a neighboring tribe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I wonder how much time. And again, so that goes back to what you had said. I just wonder, because really it's only been a couple 100 years that we haven't been out there hunting and gathering, right?
Right.
I know big cities have been around, you know, and they existed even in revolutionary times, and people were
there were castles,
but they didn't have refrigerators. Somebody still had to go out and do this, right?
It was still a big process, and you know, they weren't. you couldn't run to your local archery store and buy arrows and you know, a new bow. Like you still had to make this stuff. So. And I mean, even when they switched over from flint to metals, like, you know, the blacksmith in that community was pounding this shit out on a anvil or anvil.
I wonder what that costs.
Yeah, I mean, so it's only just, and if you look at, you know, humans, how long we've been here, it's like,
and how long we've been hunting with a bow and arrow, right?
Yeah.
And then you take that time and quantify it down to the amount of time we've had a compound bow now. Right.
I mean, you know what, archery's been real popularized when we were young. It really started to kick off. You know, you had, what, 30 years you're looking at of, you know, archery really take. I remember being young that most people, it was the 2 weeks of deer camp and maybe an extra weekend, but a lot of people didn't really bow hunt. Most of the hunters I knew didn't bow hunt.
I want to see when. I'll just say here.
Well,
The patent was applied for.
So it looks like in 66
66 he applied for.
and 69 it started to evolve.
Yeah, in 69 it was granted the patent for the first compound bow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because when I started bow hunting, it was with a longbow.
So around 1974.
Yeah.
You know, so early 70s, let's say.
So you're well under 50 years
Yeah.
of archery technology.
Beyond just a stick and string
Yeah.
with a recurve.
Because, like I said, when I first started bow hunting, it was with a longbow and a recurve. You know, the first,
Oh, I still got my first bow
yeah,
hanging on the wall here.
first 3 deer I shot
started
at
shooting this bow
was
when I
with,
was
with a recurve.
6 or 7 years old. I started shooting that bow.
So it's new. So I think you're right. There's a lot of that primitive instinct still in our DNA, you know.
Yeah, and I got thinking about that the other day when they were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. I wanted to see when when the first
Started.
commercially available.
Wow. Well, they said people in
Okay.
Africa 64,000 years ago had invented the bow and arrow. And what? And then they had, what was it? The Adalat, or with the stick with the long arrow that they throw. Adalat. I think
Yeah.
that's what it's called. Yeah.
Something like that. I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, you know, it's
Look at that. The oldest intact bows in one piece, 9,000 years old that they found. I
wow.
want one of those.
Yeah.
Let's get big enough I can have one of those in the studio.
Heck yes. I love it. Yeah, like the Iceman that I thought he had a bow with him.
Yeah, that was what, 6,000 years old?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Almost 70,000 years ago. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of years.
Of doing something a certain way.
Right.
It's yeah. I love bow hunting.
And I'm having a hard time nailing down an exact. I just wanted to see, like, when could you go to a store and buy the first
Right.
recurves?
I think that's why people enjoy fishing so much. Same thing.
That's fascinating too, because that goes back to the same primal thing, right? Whether you're 8 or 80, if I take you out and a fish bites your line, we all get the same, even if we're not
Yeah.
fishermen. If you just go, you're on a family vacation up at the lake and someone
Yeah.
casts a bobber out and you've never fished, and that
It's
fish
exciting.
takes it, everybody's like,
Yeah.
it's gotta be like, we get to eat tonight.
Yeah. It's
Right?
gotta be.
It's gotta be. Everybody gets
And
excited.
I wonder if, like, because my favorite form of fishing is ice fishing. That's my favorite by far.
Right.
I wonder if it's because my ancestry came from like some Norwegian cold place in the north, you know, and it's just in my DNA.
That's possible.
You know, yeah, I kind of wondered maybe my ancestries came from like a cold climate. Because we know for a long period of time, like people, they moved around, but not drastically, not the way you do now. Now you can live anywhere, any climate. You jump on a plane, $200 and, you know, you're gone. 3,000 years ago, you know, migration was a little bit harder. So I could see where, like, history of, your DNA. But it came from a certain area where it was kind of locked in this area and kind of anchored in there for years, thousands of years before, migration started to become easier and people started to migrate more around the world. Yeah. So then again, on that same way of thinking, then it would be like locked into your DNA probably of, yeah. Well, that's interesting. And I never thought of it that way. Why? I don't know why I have this love of ice fishing, but it's by far my favorite way to fish.
So it looks like it says the earliest known evidence of a recurve bow is from around 2500 BC in ancient Egypt.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them pull them out of tombs where they've had mummies, and they take all their possessions in the world and then they put them in the tomb with them, and there's bows and spears and yeah, interesting.
So that goes back to, as much as we've evolved, we still have these things because it's been such a short amount of time, right? That
we just haven't had a chance to.
We haven't caught up to as fast as everything's progressing.
Yeah.
We still hold on to these primitive instincts that are just locked into our DNA.
And it might always, I don't know that you'll ever evolve out of it completely.
I think if we lived this way, where we didn't have to hunt for like 50,000 more years, I think it would slowly,
maybe, you would forget.
Yeah.
Your DNA would forget what it was like to, starve or have to hunt. If you were like a farming community for the next 50,000 years,
Yeah. If we live, if we continue to progress at the rate we are, I assume that.
Well, there wouldn't even.
Well, we even see with cooking, right?
Replicators like in Star Trek, coffee, black, hot,
Right, but I think we'd lose some of these primitive instincts.
Yeah.
Like, in 50,000 years from now, if someone picked up a bow, they might just shoot it. Like, there might not be any, that instinct to, they'd just be like, oh, okay. Like, that's just gone out of their DNA. That desire that, we get to eat tonight. If I can get this thing bleeding, we're going to eat tonight.
Huh.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I'm, again, just
we'll see 50,000 years from now.
Yeah, I'm just some dipshit just...
they'll look at this podcast 50,000 years from now and go, those guys, they were pretty smart,
Yeah, just bouncing mind thoughts back and forth here. So
interesting. I like it.
Well, you got stuff to do. I got stuff to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a short show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still in the middle of my move and birthday parties and all kinds of stuff. So.
And I got someplace I got to be, so. All right. Well, we'll see how this one goes.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, give us some feedback.
Yeah, this one
should be interesting.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching.
Be kind to each other out there.